Okay, it looks like the attendee list has kind of plateaued at 22. Hopefully a few more will join as well. And then with that, I'll call this meeting of the Montoursville Area School District Board of School Directors to order on this Tuesday, September 8th at 7:02 p.m. And Brandy, if I could ask you to take a roll.
Mr. Albert.
Here.
Dr. Berry, I believe she is, oh, yeah, Dr. Berry's here.
I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Kunkel.
Here.
Mrs. Marriott. She's the one that's absent this evening, correct? Dr. Mathers.
Here.
Mr. Ruffing.
Here.
Mr. Schimmel.
Here.
Mr. Snell.
Here.
Mr. Ulmer.
Mr. Ulmer here.
Okay, thank you, Brandy. Moving along then to the agenda, and at some point we'll add that supplemental item. I guess we could do that now, could we not? Okay, let's add that supplemental item to the agenda. I think you all received it, and that was the approval of the revised athletic health and safety plan. So could we have a motion to include that in tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. With that then, are there any other recognitions or presentations tonight, Superintendent?
No formal recognitions or presentations, Mr. President.
Okay. Then with that, let's move on to item C and the student representative. And we'd like to welcome Zachary Smith tonight. And Zachary, do you have a camera? Can you show us your smiling face?
It says that I cannot start my video because the host has stopped it.
Oh, Sebastian. Okay. All right. Well, we'll look in a yearbook or something like that. But Sebastian or Zachary, welcome. We really look forward to having you here. Do you have something for us tonight?
As of right now, the only thing that people have been coming to me about would be people at the football games. But I think that you guys would be getting into that later, so I'm gonna hold off on that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, I'm sure that'll be a part of a discussion this evening. And with that, moving on to an item we added for a presentation, it'd be a building principal report. Do you have any particular principals or all principals? What do you have in mind, Superintendent?
I think if we just begin with the elementary and work our way through the middle school and high school, I think that would be very helpful. So if we could start with Darrin, and then we'll move to Amy, Curtis, Chris, and Dan.
Sure, just a little bit to add to the written report. We're off to a good start. It's been great to have the students back in the building. Of course, they're excited to see their students and their friends. We're getting back into the routine. It's different. Obviously, we all know our world's different right now, but the students have been wonderful with the the mask guidelines and the facial coverings, and and again the constant washing our hands and doing our best to abide by all those guidelines. So it's been wonderful, and again, it's different. We all know that, but in some respects too, it's the same because our kids are back, and that's the most important thing. And we're getting back to some sense of normalcy. So far, so good. We're looking forward to what this year brings us.
Thank you, Darrin.
And I would just add as well, it's been a very smooth transition. I feel at the Valley, we've had almost a tranquil calm to it all, if you will. Having the fewer number of students in the building has just allowed teachers a greater opportunity to get to know their students up front, to work with their students one-on-one. We're slowly transitioning to that technology phase. And I know one teacher said she had that kind of panic where, oh my goodness, this isn't going right. But then she realized that she only had 10 students in the classroom, and it would be okay that she could get to them and help each one of them out individually. So it's been a nice transition. And again, I think we're all hopeful that we can move to full-time soon. But, just to piggyback off of what Mr. Feerrar said, we've had very few mask issues. One may slip and I'll be, oh, cover your nose. And children are really responsive to it and cooperative with what we're doing. The other thing that I would just draw your attention to from my written report is just the idea that we are beginning our school-wide positive behavior support this year as well too. So we did a little kickoff with staff, and some of the teachers have had the opportunity in the last week to start to share with students what the expectations will be for this year as far as their conduct and their classroom, hallway, all those environments and those situations. Thank you.
And I would have to agree with Mr. Feerrar and Dr. Breon. I think we're all excited to be back at the middle school. The kids are really excited to be there. They're doing really well with the mask initiatives. Again, we are in year number 2 of our PBIS, Warrior Pride. We've added additional signage in the commons as well as in the vestibule. So I would just want to thank all our teaching staff for their hard work as we transition into the new year, as well as the students, the regular assistive staff as well, and the maintenance and custodial staff. The building looks fantastic, and we're off and running, and we're excited as we move forward through this year. Thank you.
Dan Taormina here. I see now Zach is here, so Zach is on video. Zach, if you want to say something so that the folks can see you out there.
I don't know what to say.
Just give them a hello and tell them how glad you are to be back in school.
Oh, it's really good to be back in school because I don't do better when it's all remote learning because it's more distracting, and because I can go and off and do something, and yeah, and then I'll completely forget about it until it's due. So I like the hybrid a bit more.
So thanks, Zach. And going off what he said, obviously we all want our kids back five days full time. But as I'm seeing and experiencing throughout the PHAC League through athletics, I think slow and steady is the best approach right now. So as the admin team knows, as against hybrid as I am, this is really our best option for making this last as long as possible. It is great to have students back in the building. I cannot thank the students and parents enough for their cooperation in getting us started. It's obvious they watch the videos, they listen to the communications from all of us, K to 12, on how important our social distancing and masks are, because it just has not been an issue. Our students have been absolutely fantastic. We're used to not moving at this quick of a pace with some of our decisions, but COVID has forced us to. I'm happy to report that as SAT sessions get canceled throughout the area, that we were able today to secure an at-school testing for our seniors. So we will be offering an SAT testing session for our seniors on Wednesday, October 14th. We sent the parent link out. Right now it's seniors only. To be able to do that was a challenge, but as we're finding, challenges are easily being met these days as we collectively solve these problems. So we will have an SAT session. Many kids still need the SAT to get into schools. Some schools have waived that, but generally there are some that still really need it. So we're happy to be able to offer that to our seniors. And if need be down the road, we'll offer some other sessions. So we're looking forward to that. On the athletic front, of course, our sports other than football, we can have spectators at, and numbers have not been a problem to this point. Football is going to be an issue for us right now between the coach and AD and coaches of the away schools. We have come up with something to have 250 in. We've worked with the mayor because of safety concerns to close Mulberry Street there. Just because we foresee some safety issues there. So Mulberry Street will be closed Friday night for home games. And, we're seeing several football programs being shut down now for 2 weeks in our league. So there may be times we just can't play. So until there's some legislation out there, until that passes, until it actually becomes law, we're stuck with the 250, and we need to manage and work with that number. And that 250 does include everybody on the field. And I know we all have opinions on that and thoughts on what we want to do, but it just does not matter right now what those opinions are. We're stuck with the 250. And just to give you an idea, even if for some reason sports do get shut down statewide or league-wide, whatever it happens to be, it is important to still continue those voluntary workouts for our students. We've had, and this is hard data that I'm sharing here, we've had over 11,000 entries into our screening system. And that includes temperature checks and all the other information we collect from our student athletes. This includes band camp. We had a couple times yearbook was in, and through 11,000 of those, we've been able to maintain our programs through this. So that is a huge compliment to our coaches, a huge compliment to our student athletes, and it shows the value and the importance they have in what they're doing in our athletic and band and extracurricular programs. We are having a very unique meeting Thursday night, Key Club. They're approaching 200 kids now, thanks to Curtis in the middle school. Their Builders Club has allowed us to build Key Club up to almost 200 students. We can't meet in the building with the 25 cap. So we are meeting Thursday night under the lights in Memorial Stadium for a Key Club meeting. So something very different for us. And finally, senior night, because all of the uncertainties, we don't want to rob our seniors or our parents of the opportunity to have a senior night. We are doing a fall sports celebration, so to speak. We're doing a combined senior night for all fall athletics, for band and for cheer, Wednesday night under the lights. And we will keep to under the 250. So a lot of unique things happening. Interesting times, but we're making it happen, and that's what's important for our kids. So kudos to from the faculty to our coaches to my fellow administrators. We've kicked off absolutely fantastic, and I hope slow and steady proves to be what wins the race here. So I think that's all I have. I probably talked too much, but I'm super excited to have kids back.
Thanks, Dan. That was good information. I appreciate that very much. Does the board have any question for any of the principals?
I do for Dan. Would Dan be able to share if there's a written plan for game night? It sounds like the league has come up with, guidelines, and I have questions, and so the information you're sharing was good, but if there's a document that could be shared, that would be great.
There is not a document because of how fluid the situation is with the pending legislation that's out there. So we're relying on the coaches. The coaches have been in communication, and I assume you're talking about Friday nights because that's our big issue.
Yeah. Yes. Well, where you talked, Dan, about, closing off Mulberry Street, is that it sounds like you've dialogued with the mayor. So is that getting out to the public then?
That's more of a safety concern, and yes, that'll get out to the public. As far as in the stands, we are permitting varsity parents and limited varsity parents of the away team to enter. What we did with band, we broke it up into squads of 25. So it'll be more of a pep band. So they will be in the stadium as well as cheer, because they're part of the school. They're a part of the event as well. So we are limiting parents. We don't have this written. It's been communications between the coaches and the parents, and I will also be sending that out in a parent link. We are not going to be able to have just random people show up and come into the stadium.
Yeah, I'm getting questions from the public, Dan. That's why I'm asking, and you're answering some of those questions for me. But if I had some sort of outline that could be referred to, it would be very helpful. Because I just think there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the sooner we can get, even if it's as I said, an outline, understanding the fluidness of what's going on now, but. I do think the more communication we get out there, the better.
Okay, then I will work on putting something out. It's going to be pretty simple. Don't come to the game unless you've been invited by a coach. But we'll put something out that you can point to as well, if that will help.
Yep, but just you've attempted to recognize so many of the groups and getting them in there, meaning it's the band, cheerleaders. So those are the things I think the community, I know I would be very interested in knowing how that process is going to fall out.
Yeah, and just so there's an overall understanding, when you get the teams, coaches, and all the personnel to run a Friday night, you're approaching 200. So you're really limited then on how many you can bring into the stadium. So we're hoping that legislation passes, because those of you that have been to any events to this point see how bare things look, and it looks really silly. 250 people in that stadium, when most of them are on the field, is going to look silly. But again, that opinion, my opinion, and others do not matter at this point. That's the rule that we must follow.
I had no idea the numbers or what it looked like, but I did see in the paper, the Loyalstock Township Board really hit home some of those different numbers. And, they were up at the 250 with hardly anybody outside of, school groups included. The spectators were really out of the question.
We will be able to squeeze some parents in, varsity parents. And, that's a safety reason as well. Football being as much of a contact sport as it is, we really want some parents there. Sure. If there happens to be an injury, it's best to have a parent there.
Yep. Thanks, Dan.
Will the games
Sure.
be streamed live?
Right now, yes, Web Communications is streaming our varsity games live. They just installed, I was at the school all day yesterday with the installers for the streaming system. So that is installed. We just need to work to get network out to the press box and all events in the stadium. And then moving forward, all events in the gymnasium will be streamed live. But for now, varsity football. Pardon?
How will the public know where to go for that streaming? Will it be on the website?
Yeah, we'll put that on our website and Facebook page so that people know where to go.
Thanks.
Yep. And then we're also looking at, the different programs are looking at recording and then posting afterwards a streamed event of that game so that people can tune in later on to see. So some of the, like soccer, if they're at the middle school, they may not be live streamed, but they will be able to watch later on. So we're working on that as well. But what we're seeing in soccer is that the attendance numbers, we're not approaching the 250, and we've been okay. And that should continue.
I just want to say that hoping that that legislation passes is wishful thinking, because I don't see it. If it passes, I don't see it getting past Wolf's desk. With that being said, Dan, who is going to be the one that is responsible to make sure that inside that stadium, there are only 250 maximum inside? Who is the responsible person?
Well, ultimately, it's me, I guess, since I'm in charge of athletics. But we're going to be taking, we're not charging admission. We're going to be pulling tickets, and there's going to be security there, and the AD is going to assist me with that as well. So we will not go over the 250. As far as the legislation goes, I know it came out of the House as being veto proof. I expect the Senate to pass it. I just don't know when they're going to vote on it. And then finally, I don't know when it will actually become the rule of the land, depending on how long the governor would sit on that. So you're right, Ron. He may veto it. He may just let it sit in a black hole somewhere. I'm not sure. So ultimately, it will be fall on me to make sure that we're under that 250.
All right. I just want to say that I understand the importance of sports in our school system. And I don't want to see fall sports canceled. However, I question how we have so much support going against the governor's recommendations for sports, yet we don't have that same support going against his recommendation for education of our students. In other words, we need to get the students back into schools. That's where they learn the best, and that's where it's best for all. It's best for our teachers, and it's best for our students. So I'd like to know where the support is for the education side of it. I mean, I see the support for the sports, but where's the support for the education?
Yeah, and I'm not going to argue with you, Ron. We've been on different sides of some issues in the past. I certainly agree with you on this. My fear is sports is going to be the thing that affects education ultimately. We've done all this work with hybrid, splitting groups, and yet they all come together to practice on a daily basis. So I'm with you that I have concerns with athletics, but we've done it successfully to this point. And at some point, we are all very excited in this business to see us move to back to full education for our kids in the buildings, especially the one we just built.
And I understand what you're saying, Dan, but and I know people don't like to hear me say back when I was in school, but I'm going to say it again. Back when I was in school, District 4 was in majority of the teams we played were in Lycoming County. It's not that way anymore. The schools we play are coming from areas that possibly have hot spots. And that's what concerns me the most, because it's not the fact that our kids are playing with each other. It's the fact that they're going to be playing contact sports with other schools coming from other areas outside our area that have possibly a higher cases of COVID-19.
And again, I'll agree. Back when I was in school too, Ron, sports created more passion than education, and that's just, unfortunately, I'm not there. I think school is the most important, but a lot of people like their sports, and they're going to rally around that more than anything else. It's easier to rally around for them. So again, I agree, but we're playing in an environment right now that it is what it is.
Well, I just hate to see, I hate to see the case happen where we get an epidemic in our school that came from another school because of sports. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately right now I think there are 5 or 6 schools out there right now where football players are out 2 weeks from school and everything else, and that would be awful to see for us as well. So I guess we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Taormina, you have put many hours into this whole thing with the sports program above and beyond your numerous other responsibilities. And on behalf of the board and many others in the community, I want you to know that's appreciated. You mentioned in passing there that you were at the school all day yesterday, working with the outfit to do the live streaming. Most people probably don't know just how much time you have into this along with everything else. And I just want to say thank you to you, all the administration, and all of our faculty and staff members who are being challenged like never before. Thank you.
Thank you. And it really is, it's a team effort. It's everybody being involved. It's not just me.
Okay, good
Dave.
work there, Bill. Thanks for sending out those kudos that were well deserved. All right, with that, let's move along then to the reading of the minutes. We're looking for approval on the August 11th regular meeting and then the August 20 special meeting. So we'll be looking for approval of those minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion, questions, corrections, or anything? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. And prior presentation, Superintendent, do we have anything on the agenda for that? I don't think we do we? Okay, all right. This time then we'll engage in a public comment period where the public will have a time to share their thoughts with us. Now in the past we've done especially leading up to the opening of school, we've done a sort of a Q&A session, and I think and that served its purpose well. It was really fruitful discussion to have a running conversation with the public. Now at this point, I'm not sure that is a necessity. I would say that if anybody has questions though, you can certainly call the building principal, the teacher. Emails are all available on the website. So I'd recommend that approach, or those approaches. So at this point, if we could just limit it to the public comment as we've done traditionally. And with that, Sebastian, I'll turn it over to you to open up the chat room, or whatever we call that.
Okay, so at this time, if anyone from the public would like to speak, please go ahead and click the icon on your screen that looks like a hand. Once we start seeing hands go up, we will go down the list alphabetically, and I'll allow you to speak one at a time. We just ask that you please state your full name and your address before commenting.
Mr. President, I just like to say, if the public's got questions that can be answered, possibly do that at the public comments at the end of the meeting, because I'm sure that the public has questions, and this is an unprecedented year that we need to do what we can to answer them questions in a timely manner. So rather than hold up the meeting with answering any questions that they have now, maybe at the end of the meeting, those questions that can be answered, can we answer them then?
I like that approach, Ron. Let's do that. We'll make note of that then. That at the end of the meeting, at the public comment session at the end, we'll engage in some Q&A if there's a need and a desire to do that from the public standpoint. So at this point, then I guess in the public comment section on the agenda items, that's traditionally what we're doing here. Is you're going to be making comments on any agenda items, and then if you want to have a further discussion on basically anything, we would entertain that for at the end of the meeting. So Sebastian, go ahead.
Okay, so at this time I see one hand being raised, and I'm going to allow Sheldon to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure whether this is the appropriate.
Give your name and
Oh,
address.
my name is Sheldon Schwartz, and my address is 3989 State Route 864, Montoursville. I think a number of you know me now because I've sent an email to all the board members and Madam Superintendent as well. My background is I'm a retired pathologist with over almost 40 years of experience in the field of infectious diseases, laboratory diagnosis of infectious diseases and their mechanisms of spread and how they do their damage. And of course, as an anatomic pathologist also, I've seen the damage firsthand. So I think I have a unique perspective here. I'm also trained in the critical evaluation of laboratory data and the metrics that we're using. I don't want to reread the entire letter. I think I said what I needed to say, but I just want to hit some of the highlights if I could. One of the important things at the outset was that it was my recommendation that we treated the guidelines of the DOE and DOH just as that, as guidelines, because the one-size-fits-all model that they have for evaluating the counties really does not fit well with the individual counties, such as Lycoming, which is a very large but not densely populated county with overall very few cases of COVID. Part of the issue I have is because they've chosen only 2 metrics out of the 6 that are generally accepted as good evaluators, we don't get an accurate picture of what's going on here in Montoursville. They've chosen only 2. If you look at the 6, 5 of them would put us in a green or low transmission area. Only 1 of them puts us in a moderate transmission area. But because we are bound to that 1 as part of the 2, we are pretty much stuck in the moderate transmission zone or county. And we probably, for complex reasons I really am not sure that I understand, will be in that area until sometime next year, probably when there's a vaccine. But it does not give a good indication of the fact that here in Lycoming County, the case rate is low and it's diminishing. The utilization of hospital beds and ICU is low. The percent positivity of test rate is dropping. It's now down to about 3.5%. All of the metrics look really good. And I also asked you to do the eyeball test yourself. Look around you as you go to work and go about your business and ask yourself, does this really look like a community that the schools should not be operating in full-time mode? I think you'd probably come up with the answer that that's not the case. We're also dealing with a young population, and I'll address that and talk about how to possibly open up the schools in a step manner. But the youngest population, especially the elementary and middle school, have very low vulnerability to the disease. If they get sick at all, they generally are either asymptomatic, that's without symptoms, or have very few symptoms. So, and some studies have shown that you really don't even need 6 feet for this population. 3 feet would do. They're small and they don't exhale to the same extent that the big folks do. And so masks and 3 feet may be perfectly adequate. So I would, I guess, come down to the basic summary that I have here is that from my perspective as a physician with a lot of experience in this kind of stuff, I don't see any additional benefit by keeping our schools in a hybrid mode. I don't see that it will improve things at all. We've already decided as a board to take on additional risk by having contact sports. And that does increase the risk significantly. I personally would have preferred to see the kids back in school rather than having the contact sports, but that is what it is. One other aside, I don't know how many of you noticed this in the paper over the weekend. There was an article written in the editorial section by a rather prominent plaintiff's attorney in this area, Clifford Readers. I know him well for many years. He's a plaintiff's attorney. He sues people like me, doctors, and people like you, boards and stuff like that. His basic comment was that if a school district is acting in good faith with common sense, it is not correct that there is a high litigation risk. He basically said that idea is bunk. That's a term he used. So if litigation is holding us up or holding you up, you really need to pin down your attorneys and maybe speak to an attorney like Clifford Readers because it's probably not the case. One final thing, one consideration, if you do consider opening the schools soon, as I would recommend based on the medical situation here, one way to do it is in a stepwise fashion. First of all, right now you're in a mode where you can sit and watch other districts for a while, maybe another month or whatever, look at the Loyal Sox and Jersey Shores and see how they're doing. Hopefully they continue to do well. Then you may want to consider opening the elementary and middle school first, because these kids are particularly less vulnerable to the disease. And that would be a good place to start. Other districts have done this and it's been done overseas successfully. That's one way to do it. See how it goes and do it for a month or so and then consider opening the high school if problems exist. I would certainly have an option for parents to opt out. That's better than keeping the schools closed, I think, not closed, hybrid. Let parents who feel uncomfortable with the idea of full-time opt out of full-time. I'm gonna answer any questions I can. I hope I made myself clear and I hope the letter was clear, and I just wanted to reinforce a few of those items.
Well, Dr. Schwartz, will you be around at the end of the meeting?
Excuse me?
Would you be around at the end of the meeting? Can we have a conversation with you at the end?
Yes, you can.
Okay, all right. Then we'll continue with the public comment period on agenda items, and then if we can hold you over to the end and have a discussion. So,
okay.
Additional public comment. Okay, at this point, I'm not seeing any hands being raised. So with that, we'll close this portion of the public comment period, and we'll move on the agenda items to item 5 in the business manager's report. So Brandy, if you would.
You've received copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending August 31st, 2020 for the general fund and cafeteria fund. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, questions on it? Okay, with that, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, ayes have it.
You've received copies of the listing of invoices for the general fund and cafeteria fund for the period ending September 8th, 2020. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval and payment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Question or discussions? Okay, Brandy, would you do a roll call on that?
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Dr. Beery,
Yes.
Mr. Kunkel,
Yes.
Dr. Mathers,
Yes.
Mr. Ruffing,
Yes.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes.
Mr. Snell,
Yes.
Mr. Ulmer.
Mr. Ulmer, yes.
All right, and then at the last meeting, there was questions about account 2310 board services with already spending over 40%. I did have time to look over that and everything looks normal. The major purchase that's done every July each year through that is the PSBA annual fees. So everything is normal there. I just wanted to follow up with that.
Thank you, Brandy.
That's everything for this evening.
Okay. With that, we'll move on now to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President. I would like to echo what our staff has already shared with you, that this year we have come back and we are coming back strong. In the buildings, it does seem like there is a sense of calm. I have forwarded to you many accounts from our staff, teaching staff, as well as custodial staff, about how they are working in very creative manners. And they are actually loving having the lower class sizes because of that personalized help. Right now, it is especially important as we have never been a one-to-one district prior to this, but moving in that direction, they are delighted, I will say, to be able to share the knowledge that they have and then learn from the students about what really needs to be done with an iPad or a Chromebook, depending on the student's level of education. So that has been very helpful for us at this point in time. You can see how creative people have been when you hear Dan talking about how they have worked through games with parents, how we are working through SATs. I do want to congratulate him. It is a team effort, but yes, we all come up with ideas, but Dan, you stand out on those this time. You get the gold star for this time because they were great ideas and they always serve the needs of kids, so thank you. I also want to thank our teaching staff. This whole year for them has been a struggle, as it has been for every parent who has now become a partner in education with our staff. So many districts are doing so many different types of educational processes, instructional models, and deliveries of instructional models. This one is consistent. We did not like it, but it is proving to be very consistent for our staff. I have been in all of the buildings and in speaking with staff, especially at the elementary levels. Right now, what I have learned is that they are getting through materials on a faster basis. They are working with students more on a one-to-one basis. So while this is not a popular method, we are making the best of it. Our staff is making the best of it. I can tell you that we've always had wonderful students, but they are under much less stress right now. When you walk through the buildings, you do get a sense of calm. I will echo what Dr. Breon said. It is definitely a sense of calm, especially when I was with the 5th grade groups. The 5th grade groups are a group where the social atmospheres for them can be very overwhelming. And they were very happy that they had smaller class sizes and that they could experience things with much less stress and less people around them, because it makes them nervous and they have a lot of anxiety over that. So I can speak to those specific groups that I was with. We've watched the lunch periods and they are doing very well with lunch periods, and they are also doing very well at recesses. So the kids are doing great, and I am so grateful for that opportunity with them. We are working through different PDE and CDC resources and working through all of the changes. As this disease progresses, so does the knowledge that we have about it, and so do the authorities that we have about it. So Dr. Schwartz, it's always good to hear you. Thank you for keeping us included in how you're perceiving things, because that's another opinion that we get to share with you. So we always appreciate that. We do have a few doctors who reach out to us and help us with opinions. And it is nice because it's a different level of communication than what we have had in some cases before. So we're going to keep moving, and we'll keep moving in a positive direction for all of our kids. I will say that we have been watching COVID cases and seeing if those cases hit our district through staff and students. Thus far, we have been very successful and hope to continue to be very successful in how we provide directions and how we've been working with the Department of Health and the CDC. So thanks to all for their hard work and grateful efforts for making this year a start and a success so far. So we're going to keep moving. That is all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Then with that, if we can move on to item 7 on the agenda items, and if you would walk us through those, I'd appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I can move through the general. G1, approval to accept the agreement with Paul Smith.
We have a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Discussion or questions? Okay, hearing nothing there, then all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay.
And now that I know what the vote is, I have to ask, will this agreement be made public on the district website, as it is taxpayer funds going to be used to reach this agreement?
The word that I had from one attorney was it will be a public document under request, Mr. Snell. I don't know if it's going to be a public document that will be on the website. So I'm going to defer to legal counsel at that point. Tom, if you would like to weigh in on that one.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
We can.
All right, I hit the space bar, but it wasn't unmuting for some reason. Christina, as you stated before, I think that this would be possibly considered a public record, at least for purposes of the right to know law, and I think that's what you were alluding to, but for purposes of posting on the website, probably not at this time.
The reason why I asked the question is mainly because of tax dollars being spent. The public has a right to know what their tax dollars are being spent on. And I don't think they should have to file a right to know to get that information. This would come under the same, I would think would come under the same area as the budget, where the budget doesn't have to be looked at through a right to know request.
Well, this is included with the packet tonight, so is there any reason it wouldn't just be part of the meeting packet that gets posted on the, in the network? I mean, any reason to treat it any differently?
Dave, I don't believe it was part of the public's packet.
Well, I mean, after the meetings, after our meeting's done, that this whole packet becomes then a public, it becomes all part and parcel of tonight's meeting. So it would be included if somebody wanted the agenda and everything from this meeting tonight. It would, I assume, would be in that package.
I can't answer that because I'm not the one that puts the stuff on the district website. So I would have to defer to somebody else to answer that question.
Well, I think we've heard that it's a publicly available document. So if anybody asks for it once, they can just ask for it. I mean, I don't even know why we'd have to jump through right to know hoops. If we've heard legal opinion, it's a public document, then that decision's been made. We don't have to vet it as being a subject to any additional scrutiny. So, all right.
Okay, Dave, can I be assured then that it will be posted on the district website as an attachment to tonight's board meeting?
Well, when we have our agenda, and the agenda gets posted, and then once the minutes are done, and I guess I don't have a reason to go back and look at these, but does this whole packet that we have tonight, does that become part of what's on the website, Christina? Because I don't know, because I don't need to go there and look for it. I always have my paper copies. So does that
What is on the website remains on the website, and that is not what I'm hearing Tom say. So I want clarification on this.
In other words, does this 30 or 40 pages, does that end up in the minutes of meetings? No, it doesn't, Brandy. All right. So we just have the actual minutes. All right. Well, look, I don't see any reason to separate this out as a special, unique posting. If somebody wants it, they can have it. It's that simple. It's almost like we're targeting something, and that doesn't make any sense to me. So if someone wants the agreement with the Smith agreement, they certainly can ask for it, and they'll get it. It's that simple. We'll send it electronically. It's better than printing it out. It's cheaper. We don't have to charge them 25 cents a page. So, we have email. So does the board have any issue with just handling this seamlessly, easily, no fuss, no muss? Somebody wants it, they can have it.
The only problem I see, Dave, the only problem I see is we're involving another person having to do something when we could just have it posted on the district website, and people wouldn't have to file a right to know request to look at it if they so desire.
Well, what I'm saying is I think we've already determined that it doesn't need the scrutiny of whether it can be released. It doesn't have to be subject to anything from the Office of Open Records and all that kind of stuff. We've already heard that it's a public document. And if somebody wants it, email me, for crying out loud. I'll scan it and I'll email it to them. I don't care. We don't have to make a mountain out of a molehill. If somebody wants a Smith agreement, just get to us. We'll get you a copy of it, and that'll be that.
Thank you.
Thank you. G2 and G3, may I please have consent for both of those motions, which are requests from Ken Smith for the youth football and cheer to be using the stadium. I will say that these requests came in prior to having COVID. One came in February, and one came in, I want to say May when I looked at it. So what we would be, this is for the Pop Warner football.
Move to approve.
Give a second.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
Yes, Dave, I have a concern. I had expressed it to you previously. Our facilities use policy has been suspended. Our health and safety plan says that there is no outside organizational use of our facilities. I think if we're not going to reverse that suspension, we at least need to make note of why this is an exception to our suspension of that activity.
Mr. Ulmer, I did run that
Because
by Fred
it's
Hollins
this,
and Tom Burkhart, and they were of the opinion that we did not need to change anything with our policies for that. They did very promptly give me a response to that today.
okay, because the one is stadium, but the other is the gym.
Are we then responsible
And
for any,
you know, that,
are we responsible for sanitizing anything in the gym then, or is the responsibility?
No, there would need to be alterations made. There would be nothing inside. There would be no bathrooms, no concession stands, and no locker rooms available. No press box available. If they can live within those limitations, then they can go ahead and use the field. It would be outside areas only. It cannot be anything within the buildings, and it cannot be anything that would be requiring us to be cleaning it on an overtime basis. We have enough difficulty right now ensuring that the buildings themselves are clean. So thank you for asking us clarifying questions.
But wait, G3 is the gym. I mean, so
Yes.
that would be I mean, that would be inside?
You're going to have to separate these out. Some are stadium, some is gym.
It would still all have to be outside. They cannot use the gym. And I do see that it does say the gym. However, if they can use the outdoor facilities, they will need to use the outdoor facilities. But thank you. If you would like them separated, let's do G2 first. Are those two, Scott and Danny, are you amenable to doing just G2?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I would just like the minutes to reflect the fact that we're making an exception for, because it's an outside activity. And I'm in complete agreement with that.
I'm not sure, Dale, how we have the motion as it's presented, and we have the written, so I'm not sure, it refers to the stadium. So that says outside to me, so I'm not sure.
I just add,
Yeah, it wouldn't be applicable to G2 if it's only stadium.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Dan.
G2 was the only discussion that I had with MYFC, and that was the stadium, the field itself. They've also paid us a sum of money to, I forget how many years ago that was, Brandy, but they did give us a donation for turf at one point as well. At no time were gyms discussed, so that could be tabled for future. That G3 could be tabled for a future consideration if things would change with COVID. So the only action that MYFC is looking for is on G2.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second
And
on G2 only.
yeah, but Dave, I do want to point out there are two requests that both occurred in August. And so we're past date on those. I assume those events occurred on 8/29 and 8/30.
Not.
And there was a stadium use.
No, none of that occurred at our stadium.
Correct.
Okay.
That did not occur at our stadium.
They have been limping
The
along,
request just has-
finding other places. Because we have told them we weren't considering because of the uncertainty of athletics and no spectators. This is coming before you now because the spectator thing has changed, which changes the game for all of us. So again, the only request is moving forward, future, for the field and no other facilities. I hope
Thank
that
you.
clears it up.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no additional questions or discussion, we have the motion and second. Then all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And I guess we're going to table G3. Is that it? Okay. And do we need a motion to table that, Tom?
I would say go ahead and make one if possible, yes.
All right. A motion to table G3.
So moved.
Second on that.
Second.
Questions? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
G4, which was on the supplemental agenda that we approved to add, approval of the revised athletic health and safety plan.
We have a motion on that.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Dale's our second on that. Okay. Questions or discussion?
I had
Just
two.
a quick question. What's the QR code? QR coding?
The QR code is something that you use with your cell phone, and you scan the code and it takes you right to the questions. You can
Okay,
download an app
I don't
for that,
have
Dale.
I don't have new technology on my cell phone, so that's why it was a mystery to me. I've got a
Then you
flip
need
phone.
to get rid of your flip phone, Dale.
My wife has the new one. I just need a communication device. If I get broken, if the car breaks down while I'm traveling to Shippensburg. Thank you.
Safety first, my friend, safety first.
I have two questions. I just scanned through it because I got to the email late this afternoon. But what about our student athletes who have close contact with somebody that's COVID positive? Are they put into quarantine? I didn't notice that in our health plan specific for athletes.
Dan, do you want to answer? Or would you prefer that I do?
If you have an answer, that might be good, because the Department of Health does not have an answer for us. Direct contact, all I can say is direct contact is defined as 15 minutes without a mask. And I have not seen further guidance on that. I can tell you that we would probably, if that was the case, look at quarantining quite a few people.
That is correct.
Which would be whole teams, as we're seeing happen in other school districts right now. I am hoping the Department of Health comes out with something for us, because we're also struggling with that during the school day as well. There is not concrete, clear guidance on that. So if you can add anything to that, that's all I know about.
There are calls being made when people are testing from the CDC to certain individuals. And this was news to us this week, because we have been running through the process of what we believed it to be according to certain charts that we had from the Department of Health as well as the CDC's backups. And with the CDC guidance to some of the individuals, it is different than what the Department of Health has said. So again, news to us that CDC would be contacting individuals. I'm glad that they are. However, there are some different pieces. However, what they are doing is actually more stringent. They're recommending more stringent measures. So I think, making sure that everyone is safe, that is fine. And they are the CDC. I am not a medical professional, so we will certainly follow their guidance.
Christina,
it seems to be more on a case-by-case basis.
Christina, are we responsible for the contact tracing?
Yes, we are responsible for contact tracing, especially if the Department of Health calls and asks us for certain pieces of information. At the time last meeting, they had no one hired. they had put forth the stipulation that there would be a rapid response team put together. It had not yet been put together. Since our last meeting, it has been put together. And the process for the rapid response team, I can't call them myself. For example, if we have a case of COVID within the district, I am not to be calling them myself. I am to be calling the IU director, or if it's after hours, the IU director, and then if I cannot get a hold of the IU director, I'm supposed to be calling, I think there are 3 or 4 other people, and they get a message to the rapid response team, and then the rapid response team sends an email to someone to get them involved, and then they're supposed to be contacting us, so that there's only basically one point of contact for the 19 school districts. I'll argue that it doesn't sound very rapid to me. However, if the guidance is scientific and it is the proven guidance and it is the up-to-date guidance that we should be using, then I am certainly all for that.
Did you mean that the rapid contact team isn't in place yet, or that is in place, but they're
As of our last meeting, the rapid response team was not in place. They have now since shared that the rapid response team is in place. We have not needed to be contacting that chain to get into the rapid response team because we've not had a direct, hopefully we won't have one, but a direct case of COVID with any staff or students directly yet.
It sounds like a repeat of safe to say.
Certainly does.
My other question is with the definition of close contact. And I've seen UPMC tell us that it's only without a mask. But I was also on CDC website today, and as of August 27th, they said cloth mask doesn't account. If you're within 6 feet, even with a cloth mask, that should be defined as a close contact. So
that's exactly it. Dr. Mathers, that's exactly it. And these rules keep changing. And we were, as you were in several meetings with us, we were defining close contact as the hospitals were defining close contact. That meant 15 minutes without a mask, less than 6 feet. Now that rule has changed. So the rules are constantly, like I said, as the science evolves, so do the rules. And we're trying to manage, which is why I do think that the CDC has stepped in and made some phone calls to these individuals to continually ask them to quarantine. Even after they've tested negative, they're asking them to quarantine and to continuously quarantine, not only for their 14 days, but for a period of time that if they are living with someone who has tested positive, that person who is tested positive has to have a test of negative, and then they quarantine 14 days after that in addition to that. So if we get to the point where we have people quarantining for longer than 14 days, or we have many of them who are going to be in need of doing that, nothing will shut our doors down faster than that. So, but we try to pay attention to all of the evolving sciences as they keep coming out and keep changing. And I want to say thank you to you because you help us do that. You had your class and you gave me updates on that, which was very helpful because again, there's just things that it's a constantly moving target for us.
But I guess we just have to remain constantly moving.
We do.
Keep our students safe.
We absolutely do. Yes, we do. First priority.
We had a motion and a second, lots of discussion. Anything else? If not, all in favor then say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Go into personnel.
P1, approval of retirements for members of the professional staff. Mrs. Margaret Welsh, elementary teacher with 17.5 years of service, effective January the 26th of 2021, and Mrs. Mindy Apsicardu, English teacher, 17 years of service, effective January 26, 2021. And I just wish to say the loss will be immense with these two. The spirit that these women have and the ability to reach children that they have, it is just, they are the epitome of what you think of as a teacher. And to lose them is very sad for us, but I do wish them all of the happiness and all of the blessings that they could receive in the future.
Well put. Okay. So do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I think we had a first and a second in there. Any discussion or questions, comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
P2, approval of a resignation from a member of the support staff effective August 24th, 2020. Mrs. Mary Hensler, paraprofessional. And again, Mary is going to be another loss for us at the elementary level. She was excellent with our students, and the students responded to her very, very well. And we wish her well as well.
Motion on that.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Question, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
P3, approval of the following addition to the support staff. Mr. Dwayne Rodriguez, custodian, at the rate of pay of $14.84 an hour, effective September the 9th. He is a replacement for Joan Ferris. And Tina Zeckman, another custodian at $14.84 an hour, effective September the 9th. And she will replace Deb Williams. We would like to say welcome to both of them. We are very excited that they will get to be part of our staff, and we know that they're going to do excellent work for us. I know Dwayne is on here. I saw that he was here this evening. And Tina, if you're here as well, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, welcome, Dwayne and Tina.
P4, approval of the following leave of absences from members of the professional staff for both employee 101342 and 101701 as listed.
We have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right. And any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
P5, approval of the following addition to the teacher's substitute list for 2021 school year. Mrs. Patty Bauer in the elementary area. Congratulations, Patty, you're back with us.
Not yet.
We have a motion on that.
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
P6, approval of the following additions to the guest teacher list for the 2021 school year, as listed.
Do we have a motion on that?
Move to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay. Before we, well, any questions, discussion, but before we would vote, if you, a lot of people there, and someone might be related, so you might have to abstain, but any discussion or questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, ayes have it.
And G7 should be P7, approval of the following COVID compliance volunteer staff effective for the 2021 school year, and they are as listed.
We motion on that.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Christina, would you?
Question.
Christina, would you tell us a little bit about?
What is the COVID compliance?
My turn, Dale. Hey, could you tell us a little bit about the
Yeah.
volunteer staff? When you have people that volunteer like that, it's good to know you got some good people. Tell us about what they're doing.
We have excellent people. Under the new compliance law, PIAA has a list of items that must be done. Anything from watching how close people get, to cleaning surfaces that are frequently touched, to separating students so that they are trying to maintain 6 feet apart if they are not actively engaged. There's numerous jobs that now have to be done. And we are lucky enough to have these individuals who Dan shared with you. He was creative in his manner of getting senior parents to help us so that they could be part of the activities going on. And for the most part, these are those individuals who are helping us in this time of need, acting as COVID compliance volunteer staff.
Even though they're parents, they still had to get the clearances, correct? Because of being around the other kids.
That is correct. We would not put their names on unless they had all of their clearances prior to. Yep.
And these were really important positions when no spectators were permitted. I'll leave it at that.
All right, any other discussion or questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Under transportation, T1, approval of the school bus drivers and monitors for the 2021 school year.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Question? Discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Under policy TY1, approval of the first reading of the following new policy 816, electronic records signatures. And this is becoming more and more common as we are working in different areas at different times with new documents being required or giving us the same documents to be required. We are asking that we have the ability to be able to have administration, teachers, as well as parents sign off on electronic documents. And that way we are trying to meet the needs of every person by doing so, and every entity, including the state.
Do we have a motion on that?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I think
And
that,
that concludes the agenda items.
all righty. We have that item 8, other reports. Are there, well, other reports other than committee reports? Anything else, Christina, to note?
None that I can think of at this point in time.
All right, with that, then we'll move on to committee reports. And Madam Vice President, would you take us through that?
Sure. PSBA, the only thing I received today was that they're working on advocacy for to help us with any liability issues related to COVID, which hopefully we don't have. But that's all I have for PSBA. Policy Committee, Mr. Ruffing.
Thank you, Dr. Mathers. We just approved the electronic signature policy. And what we have to do next is, through the assistance of our solicitor, see what we need to do to adjust our facility use policy so that anyone using these facilities is compliant with our new health and safety plan. And as time goes on, I'm sure we're going to have considerable more policies that need to be added or adjusted. But right now, that's what's on the front burner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that mean there'll be a policy committee meeting, Mr. Ruffing?
That's yet to be determined, Mr. Snell. I've actually communicated with Mrs. Basin, and she will be running that by our solicitor to decide whether we need to have a meeting to adjust an existing policy and to add language to it, or whether that can just be added without necessitating a group meeting. So as soon as we hear back, as soon as Mrs. Basin takes that up with our solicitor, we'll know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ruffing, do you have anything from IU?
The IU is just like the school district, anything but business as usual. We continue to meet virtually, and nothing at this time to report. Thank you.
Okay. President Schimmel, LCTC.
Yeah, we met, I guess, about 2.5 weeks ago, and of course the LCTC started up, and they, all their students are, it's all hands on, and their practice is that they're masked up all the time too, because business and industry, everybody's masked up too when they're together with each other. So they're just putting that into place for the kids so they know what they have to deal with when they go out there in the real world. The Benton School District is sending us a half a dozen or so students, and down the road, Benton may become a partner with the LCTC, and those details are being worked out. So we may get one more member to our group. And I guess that's all.
That's good. I saw that we had 45 students from our school, LCTC. Is that the typical number? Have we increased or not?
That's in our neighborhood, Dan, isn't it? That's typical, I think.
Okay, I was curious.
Is that pretty much in the ballpark, Dan?
Yes, it's up a little bit.
Okay.
I have one question. The more students, the more participation from schools at LCTC, does that typically bring down the price per student?
It does. It does, and it would have to be a whole lot of students join in, which they wouldn't have capacity for, to have the price go up. I mean, you get 2 or 3 more kids in a class, you're not going to add a teacher, you're not going to add an aide or anything like that. So yes, it brings that prorated cost down.
Mr. Conkle, Memorial Gardens.
No report.
Thank you.
A question, Scott, will there be a fall cleanup?
I guess that would be up to the board. I assume we could probably do it, Dale, and we may just have to limit the number of people there. Under the 25, we could probably get away with something. So I'm going to say yes, but.
Okay, I had a question from one of the parents.
Yeah, I would
about
say
it. So
yes.
I told him it was kind of early yet, and I hadn't heard.
Right, I'm going to.
Hopefully, yes, we can get something
we'll
arranged.
hold down the numbers, because typically, the numbers we get, so we would definitely be over the 25. So.
And actually, we should make them, all the students, because they're the hardworking group that some of the old fogies like myself we can kind of stand back in the bushes and not be counted amongst that 25.
Well, you always did
Or if
that
it's out in
anyway.
the open, gee.
Yeah, you have 250.
No comment.
I guess you could have.
Hey, maybe we can go up to 250. It's outside.
Yeah, it is. There you go.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I would say yes unless.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Because with those Key Club numbers, we should really have a turnout of helpers.
Yeah, we might hit the 250 mark.
Thank you.
Something to look forward. Awesome. Mr. Albert, Building and Grounds.
Yeah, you know, Joe and his staff there had been working double time, I'm sure, with everything and preparing for everything, and it had to be done. And just want to thank them for their efforts. And, you know, at least you didn't have to cut grass as much this summer, Joe. So, but anyway, other than that, you know, it's good for the kids to be back in school. That's what we can do it right now, and it'll get better. That's it.
Absolutely, thank you. Montoursville Foundation, Mr. Ulmer.
The foundation board has not been meeting. There's some emails circulating now trying to reorganize. So I have really nothing to report at this time. And I have nothing to report for budget either.
Okay. Oh, I skipped over you. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Well, I was talking on Scott's turf, so it's understandable.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to Mr. Conkle for extracurricular then.
No report.
Okay. That's it for committee reports then.
Thank you, Dottie. Okay, at this time, we'll now go to the public comment session on basically any items, and if it fits, we'll work into a Q&A session, if you will. If there's questions that just need an immediate answer, why we'll do what we can. But before I forget, the board will have a brief executive session for contractual items after we adjourn. So I want the public to know that. So with that, Sebastian, go ahead and open up the gate for public comment.
Okay, I forgot to mention it the first time. Are we doing the 3-minute time limit on this part? Okay.
We're gonna, I mean, for comment, yes. If someone wants to comment, let's try to hold it to 3 minutes. But if there's some questions that need asked and direction is requested, we'll try to help out in that regard as well. And then Dr. I forgot his name already. Sorry, Doctor. He may have some thoughts, and we may want to ask him a couple questions too. So.
Okay.
Dr. Schwartz. Yeah.
Dr. Schwartz. Sorry, Dr. Schwartz.
We will get started now with public comment. So if anyone from the public would like to speak, you may do so by clicking on the icon on your screen that looks like a hand. As we see hands going up, we will go down alphabetically and allow you to speak one at a time. We will please ask you to state your full name and address before commenting. So I do see some hands, and I will begin with Julie.
My name is Julie Waldman. I am located at 22 Fairview Court. My kiddos are enrolled at later, I'm sorry. I am wondering if you've gotten any feedback about Warrior Online Learning, and if so, what that's looking like. Both of my girls are enrolled virtually, and I don't think we have had a smooth day at all. I was just wondering if there's been any feedback coming through.
Julie, if you would like, you can either email me or you can email Mrs. Clark. Mrs. Denise Clark is our person who is our coordinator for WOL. If there are specific concerns that you have regarding your children specifically, I certainly would reach out to her so that she can hear that. She does pass along to us as administrators and the board what is going on. She gives us updates. So if there is something specific, I certainly would welcome the fact that you talk with her so that we can work out any issues that you may be having.
That's great. We have reached out. I've been in contact with the teachers, with her through email, as well as a phone call with her. We still have no materials, and we have been enrolled since prior to school starting. I guess I am also in education, and I am just a little bit concerned that this program is going off without a hitch, and we're the only ones having issues like this. It's surprising.
We did hear that the materials were coming. However, we don't know when that was going to be. I did hear this comment. I'm not sure if it was from you, but there was another parent who said that they were awaiting materials as well. And what I heard was workbooks. Is that the same for you?
I still can't get an answer as to what to expect. I don't know if it's workbooks. I don't know if it's textbooks. I'm a little bit up in the air with our contact, trying to figure all this out. But honestly, nobody's given us a straight answer about the materials. And there's a lot of contradictory information coming from the Warrior Online Learning teachers versus the district. And I can imagine what you guys are going through right now with all of the changes and trying to, put out a virtual instruction. I kind of am getting feedback from the school that we are the only ones who don't have textbooks and who have had a problem. And that doesn't seem likely from what the teachers are telling us. I think it would have been much better had you been forthcoming and said that this is a process that has been delayed. I think we can all appreciate all you do in the districts to try to send off a new school year, let alone with COVID in place and all of the regulations being established for that.
Was there any more comment? I'll make a comment but I don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's it.
Okay. What I can say is we had no ideas that this was not starting as you're making the claim that it's not starting. It did start, and if there are pieces that are missing, that is definitely something that we did not think would be missing as we were starting this year. I do see that Mrs. Clark is on. If there's anything that she would like to add, she can say so under the comment as well. However, for most, I think that we are working through, there are 172 students enrolled. I think I've heard 2 comments, including, this would be the third, about workbooks and about some things material-wise. I've heard nothing other than that as far as being told something different from what we are telling you versus what the teachers are directly telling you. The Warrior Online process is that Mrs. Clark speaks to Misty Weber, who is their other liaison on the other side with the teachers. So I am sure that this is something that needs to be worked out with all of the entities, as it is new to us and so many other districts across Pennsylvania who are doing this. So I'm sure that there's going to be kinks in this. I'm sure that we're not going to have everything at 100% yet. However, that is always the goal. So we will continuously work for you and your students so that they can get what they need.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the comment. Thanks for sharing with us.
Okay, so at this time, it looks like we do have another hand up. 1 second. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to allow Mrs. Wright to speak.
My name is Amanda Wright. I live at 1857 Baker State Road here in Montoursville. I have 2 students in Lighter Elementary and 1 in the high school. I've had previous conversations with Miss Clark and Miss Basin, who constantly wants to push it back to Miss Clark. As Miss Basin is our superintendent, she should be on top of what's going on with our school. as far as our students as well in WOL and the students in the school district. You guys have all talked tonight, and I've been on since the beginning. You're all talking about the students that are in school. What about the students that are at home? They're still your responsibility to make sure that their education is being advanced. And I have had nothing but problems with WOL since the first day it started. Classes are not correct. You contact Miss Denise Clark and she tries to correct them, and then WOL is going around and
WOL has a learning management system that is produced by the district that we are working with for WOL. So if you spoke to Mr. Kent, he is the right person to be looking into the learning management system so that he can work through your frustrations with you and get those materials back. The learning management system is a system that they created. They are using a company's backbone, I can say, for it. And then they modify and make changes to that so that they can work with the students. That is something that if you're speaking with them, I'm sure that it's going to be looked into, obviously, and managed that way. As far as personal responsibility, you are speaking to the right people. Mr. Kent is the right person, and Mrs. Clark is our district liaison. If you're being told things from teachers that are obviously WOL teachers, they're not district staff members, I would think that you do want to share that with Mrs. Clark so that everybody can be on the same page. This is the first time that Mrs. Clark is working with any other entity for a cyber enrollment program, like all of us. So we are trying to do everything that we know to be true at this time. Again, I will repeat, this is the first time that we're going through it. This is the first time you're going through it. This is the first time Mrs. Clark is going through it. So please keep the lines of communication open in that sense.
You want me to keep the lines of communication open, but everybody is pushing the buck to everybody else. You, as the school district, are the ones that contacted this company or this other district to start up WOL to make it possible. And you guys started this way too fast. There's way too many kinks. These kids are already suffering, and they've only done school for a week.
Again, you will have to adjust to a different set of normal with the children that we will adjust with you through that. However, what I will say is that how we react in front of our students, I would always want to be proud of how I react in front of our students. I would ask for the same. I know that you called into the district.
I react in front of my students. I act in front of my children the way I would want them to act when it comes down to their own children, which is to advocate for them and to protect them. And you, as a superintendent, just want to push the buck to somebody else instead of looking into it and saying, yes, I will work with you. Nobody wants to work with us. Everybody says, yes, school books and textbooks are coming. When? When are they coming?
Okay.
When is this program going to get figured out?
This is the board president, and my responsibility is to preside over the meeting. We have heard, Mrs. Ray, we've heard serious problems, and our administration, our staff, our people will attend to this issue. We will get it resolved. It is not going to be in the time frame you like. That's very clear. From what I hear, you wanted it right on day one. It didn't happen that way, and we can only apologize and we regret that it happened that way. But at this point, there's nothing more we can do. We've heard the severity of what you're facing, and we're going to deal with it. We're going to make it right. So with that.
So my daughter, so you as the president.
Sebastian, would you please close that microphone, please? All right, any other public comment?
At this time, I'm seeing Denise's Clark hand being raised. I'm going to allow her to speak.
Hi, this is Denise Clark. I just wanted to clarify that the workbooks that have been mentioned by the last two people making comments were ordered August 20th, and I'm going to look into why they haven't been received yet. Most of our families have received their workbooks. There were a couple of glitches. You know, this is a very popular product right now, and so the orders were very you know, we're just very large this time of year. But I did check the order and it was submitted August 20th. So I will look into that again. But everything that's in those workbooks is also available on the learning management system and in PDF form. And we have PDF editors and readers that are available on the iPads and Chromebooks. Sebastian and Aaron and I have been recording videos and sending those out on the YouTube playlist that our WOL families have access to. We are now up to 9 different training videos that we've made to help, or we found, to help our families navigate this learning system. I really wish we could have done an in-person orientation. I think that would have really helped with a lot of our learning curve here. But as we all know, we were not able to do in-person trainings and orientations. So we've been trying to do the best we can. We've been meeting with people one-on-one that come to the high school. We've been doing Zoom calls and the training videos. So please, anyone that's out there that needs some individual help with the learning management system, just continue to reach out to me. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. And I really think that we can work through this together. I've been really happy with the way our Warrior Online families have been problem solving together and giving each other helpful tips and just being so positive and encouraging to each other. So just wanted to add some clarification there, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay, moving down the line, I see Kimberly has her hand raised.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kimberly Wren. I'm at 1105 Nicely Avenue. I just wanted to say that I really have been happy. I know we're only a week in here, but I'm really happy with the hybrid model. I have been working all through this pandemic. I work with the public, so I've still been going to work every day. And my nerves are a little shot from that experience. So the idea that you guys have my daughter in a situation where she is socially distanced and the students are wearing masks and she's feeling very positive about the experience, just as a parent, makes me feel 1,000 times better. So I thank you for all the work that you've done. I've also found she's in 8th grade, and she's a Thursday, Friday student. So last week on Thursday, she came home with some homework. One of the things was to fill out information from me as a parent to get my email address. So I had the Google update with all of her class updates on Friday for everything that she had done those 2 days and what she was going to be doing for the next week. So my experience, unlike some others, I think has been pretty seamless. So I just wanted to thank everybody that had a part in that.
Thanks, Kim. I miss seeing you over there at Wegmans, Kim. Maybe someday, maybe next year.
Okay.
I don't see any other, at this point, any other hands being raised.
While we're waiting to see if anybody else raises their hands, I have a question. Have all the students, and I'm asking this question because of concerns I've seen by some parents, has all the students now received their Chromebooks and iPads?
Hey, Ron, this is Sebastian. Yeah, so within our building, all of the students received Chromebooks on the first day that they were in our buildings with us. However, some of our teachers have decided, based on their grades and who their students are, that whether they would send them home with them the first night or whether they would wait until the second or, the second week. So there are still a few out there where I believe the devices are still in our school, but the students do have them when they're there and will be sent home very shortly.
Okay, thanks, Sebastian, because I know there were some parents that were saying their students, their kids hadn't gotten theirs, and when they've questioned their child, a couple of them, their child told them that it'd be a couple weeks till they get them. So I was concerned on that because I know we've paid to receive them. And I was wanted to know whether it was something that the parent had to do to receive them, or if there was a glitch somewhere.
Nope, I think everything is running as planned, and there may be a few out there. We could not give any devices out to anyone who has not signed our acceptable use policy. However, I know that our staff have been on top of that, and we have had very few who did not get that to us even the first day or a couple of days. So no, everything is fine. There's nothing that the parents need to do on their end as long as they've signed that acceptable use policy. And I know I mentioned our brick and mortar kids, they have their devices, but I also want to say that obviously the WOL kids were also given their devices prior to the start of their classes as well. So they all have theirs as well.
And since you brought up the agreement that they signed, what happens if a parent doesn't sign that agreement and they don't get the Chromebooks? How I mean, what's our requirement here? We're required to supply them with an education, and
yeah,
you see
so
where I'm going with it.
Yep. In that case, we would have to provide an alternate form to make sure that they can obviously still receive their education, and whether that looks like paper or some, I'd have to leave that up to the teacher or the principals to explain what that would look like. But yes.
I could pipe in here a little bit, Mr. Snell.
Go ahead,
Sorry.
Amy.
I was just going to say that I know in some my teachers that I spoke with today and following up with the same message that I believe you've read, they had opted to just wait till this week to send the Chromebooks home. They've been working with them in the classroom, but they did provide other activities for students to be doing during this time. So, those could have been, read a book and do some type of project in response to that reading assignment or whatnot. So there was assignment sent home that wasn't specific to the Chromebook yet until that particular grade level became more acclimated to using it independently.
Okay, thanks, Amy. And one other question along the same lines. I saw where some students were saying, and Mr. Taormina, I believe it was in the high school, were saying that they didn't have time to download their material on their Chromebooks. And my question, I guess, is if there's a student that doesn't have study halls, is there when do they have time to do that, to download their lesson plans for this next 3 days that they're out of school?
So they have to answer that. There are probably very few students without a study hall this year. It was built with that in mind, to have time. They also, most everybody is arriving about 10 minutes before school starts, and they're reporting to first period. So there's time there. And then they all have flex period at least once when they're in the building. So there's time during that period as well to be able to download that stuff. So if they're struggling with that, I fear it's not a time constraint, maybe as much as a user issue, that through some more training and even getting into a pattern, a routine, that will be corrected. It's all new for a lot of us right now. But there's time in that schedule, the way it was built to do that.
And this next question might be one for Sebastian. If a student is, like Dan said, 10 minutes in the morning that they possibly can start downloading. Are they capable of stopping the download if it isn't complete and completing it later on in the day, or do they have to start the download all over again?
If they're in our building, their download will happen in seconds. There's nothing that our teachers are providing that is large, and our internet connection is up to 1 gig per second, which might not mean a whole lot to non-technical people, but it's very fast and we're very capable of downloading everything we need quickly.
I guess I'm just used to out here in the country where it takes a while.
Yeah, your dial-up, your dial-up, we're a little bit faster than that.
We got past the dial-up, but it isn't much past it.
Yeah, it's.
Sebastian, it appears Dan's voice might have dropped out there. So go ahead. We have another hand up, Sebastian.
Okay, so at this time, I'm going to allow Tina Marie Klein to comment.
Hi, Tina Marie Klein, 1009 Toole Street, Montoursville Borough. With respect, Sebastian, I know you said about the 1 gig download thing. With the number of students that are in the school at a given time that are trying to download at that time, there is delays in getting things uploaded and downloaded. Now, I'm not sure how you go about fixing that problem, but the reality is when you have, that many students trying to access it at the same time, it's not going to go as fast as it typically would if there were only a few. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you that my kid is having problems uploading and downloading at the speed that you're portraying to the public here. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment, Tina. I would just say that obviously in any technology, there's lots of variables, but if you, your child or anyone else is experiencing these issues, we definitely want to let the teachers know and let us know while it's happening so we can help them out, and we'd be more than happy to do that.
Sebastian, since Tina brought up that point, I refer back to my question again. If they are downloading something and they don't get it completed and they have to go to class or whatever, can they stop that download and at a later time in the day proceed at where it was, or do they have to start the download all over again?
It really depends on what they're downloading, but under most circumstances, yes, they can do that.
And that shouldn't be the case. We have not seen any type of latency in our network. So if there are those issues, we would like to work with that student to see what's going on.
Okay, I don't see any more hands being raised. So at this point, then let's close the public comment session. Then,
Dave, can I ask one question? I wanted to ask Dr. Schwartz earlier.
oh yeah, Dr. Schwartz, you want to raise your hand? There you go. Okay, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Schwartz, you had mentioned the positivity rate of 3%. Can you tell me where you're seeing that? Because the lowest I've seen, I check a couple sites every day. Lowest I've seen on the LICO site of 4.7%, and the COVID Act Now site that you sent me for the RO factor was today it was 7.6%. So where are you seeing 3%?
The 3% actually is coming from the dashboard that you folks are using. That's the latest seven day, and the week before that was 4.7. I know what you're seeing, and this is one of my problems with hanging our hats too much on one or two metrics, because I don't know, it's not something that a lay person, and you're not a lay person, may find easy to understand, but the positivity rate measures more than one thing. When we are testing, insufficiently testing, the positivity rate is going to go up. You know what it was today? We had 3 positives and only 33 tests. That's a 10% positivity rate. What does that indicate? Is there a problem here with increasing positivity? No, it's an indication of insufficient testing. So don't hang your hat on that alone. I've seen the same numbers as you, and some of them very high, but the official dashboard that you are using to categorize your community into low, moderate, or high said, I think 3.8% today. I checked it just before the meeting. So for the last week, it was 3.8%. And the week before that was like 4.5%. So I can't explain it.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's all over the place. So you're looking at the Department of Health dashboard for that. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Where was this 3.8?
Doctor,
Just so I'm looking at the right spot, is it the PCR?
Yes, it is.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, because I've been watching that, and we started at the end of July, we were at 4.7, and we have steadily decreased to the now, as through September 3rd, of the 3.8%.
Yes,
The previous week, I think we were at 4. Yeah.
That's exactly what I saw today when I checked as well. It's going down, which is the right direction. Even though the testing is going in the wrong direction. We're not testing nearly enough individuals in our community, and that's going to skew that number badly at some point. Mr. Snell,
I was, and you just touched a little bit on it right there. I was just told tonight from, well, I'll just say somebody from Harrisburg, that that Lycoming County is number 2 county in the state as far as testing. In other words, we're at the bottom of the list.
We are
for testing.
We are.
There's there's 54 other counties that have more test results than Lycoming County does.
I would not what you're saying based on what I'm seeing today, and I check every day the numbers of our testing. At one point, we were testing 200, 250. Today, we were 33. That's just really awful.
Well, and that might have something to do with the lack of cases in the county.
Mr. Snell, you hit the nail on the head. That is true, and that probably accounts for it. But what I'm saying is that we need to be testing other targeted groups to know how our community is really doing, and we're not doing that. I agree. You look around around and you give the eyeball test, and you don't see it. I for the longest time, first of all, I know nobody who's had it, and only the other day on Sunday did I finally meet somebody who knew somebody who had it. So I think you really did hit the nail on the head. But my comment is we should be testing more anyway, even though we're not seeing sick people here to test. We should be testing not sick people.
I'll be honest with you. I know a handful of people that haven't been tested, but say that they know, as sick as they was in November and pulled through, that they think they had the COVID-19 in November.
Well, my wife was very sick around Christmas time, and she claims the same thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but
well, if they're not tested, you don't know. But
and some of the problem is I know some people that have wanted to be tested, and their healthcare providers wouldn't order the test.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We have experienced that in the district. We have had people come forward and say, here's my situation. We recommend to them to quarantine. We recommend for them to go get a test, and their physicians are telling them, I'm not testing you. Now, if you as a district want to have them tested, Brandy sat there and called one of the, what are they, not MedExpress, I guess it was a MedExpress. If we want them to be tested as a district, we could pay $200 and then they'll get tested. So you know my phrase, follow the money and you'll find your answers. So.
See, I was under the impression that because of federal guidelines and legislation that nobody other than the federal government was charged for the tests.
We were under the same impression.
And
Doctor,
maybe you know.
An individual, we're not an individual, we're an entity asking to protect others.
I really, not being retired right now, I really don't know the answer and couldn't comment except to say that I think it's the case that if your doctor does order it, your insurance will cover it. But if you say, hey, I want this test, I think you're going to end up paying for it. Again, I can't say that for sure. That's my impression.
Well, that's if you have insurance.
Any other questions for Dr. Schwartz? Dr. Schwartz, we appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you very much, really. Very valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're quite welcome.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. If I can be of service, just let me know.
Thank you.
You have immensely, sir.
I didn't have a question for Dr. Schwartz, but I do wonder, are we now, I'm going to say preparing, that perhaps in October, pivoting either direction, either remote, or are we preparing to go to full day? I mean, at some point, the data is going to say, okay, are we going to be ready to go?
The data will say that. You are correct, Dale. And when it does, it's usually a 14-day lead time because as you see the data, it's a 14-day implementation point. So we will look at it at those points to make sure that it's the right direction either way. No one's going to complain. I think if we come back to 5 days of school, I think we'll all be jumping for joy. If we go in the other direction, however, we are prepared for that. We have been preparing for that. That's why the teachers have taken their time with Chromebook development, the skills, the organization that you need to be using such a device for the numerous classes that you have. That's why it's good to have all of these pieces worked out right here, right now. And as we move forward, we're prepared. We're hoping that we don't need to be, but we are prepared. We will not allow what happened in the spring to happen to us here in the fall. At that point in time, we were not prepared. No one was prepared, I don't think, unless you were a one-to-one district. So now we are prepared. Our staff is fully prepared. They have done at least 63 to 65 hours of professional development time that we have managed. Then they have done additional time on their own, which has been countless hours. So they are prepared. So I have full faith in everyone that we have within the district to do that. So yes, we're just hoping it's the opposite way.
And I will say again,
yes, I guess
as long as we are allowing, as long as we are promoting contact sports, we should be in school 5 days a week. If
Hey, Ron.
Contact sports are so important that we can have kids come in from other school districts and take the chance of a pandemic in our school, then I think that our own students together can be on 5 days a week.
All right, I patiently have waited, and I'm not waiting anymore. We've gone from, we are only 1 week into this, 1 week. And tonight we ought to learn from what we've heard. First and foremost, I want to thank the superintendent. I want to thank the staff. I want to thank every one of them for what they've done over the summer. These teachers and our staff has busted their butts all summer long trying to prepare for this, what was coming down the road, which they had no idea. So when it came time for us to go back to school and we decided to do the 2 days on and 2 days off, that was a very smart move on our part because we needed to make sure. And at that point, we had no idea what was going on with athletics. So at the end of the day, we're going 2 days on, 2 days off, and we are all in this together. Some people aren't going to be happy. One woman calls tonight online and was not very polite, was not very nice. Another woman calls, she was very respectful, and she got her point across what she needed to have done. Nobody wants to see any of our students fail. None of us wants to see any of our students not have the opportunities. So it's not fair to our superintendent, nor is it fair to our staff and our administrators to attack them in that manner. And as school board members, we need to back and support what we're promoting. And at the end of the day, PIW comes out how long ago and says, hey, guess what? We're going to do sports. So guess what they did, Ron? They put it all back on these districts, all these schools, all these students, every one of them. So it's not us. From the beginning, this thing isn't about us. We have to abide and do what they want us to do to the best that we can. But you know what? These coaches, every one of them, I don't care what district it is, every one of them is keeping a close eye on what's going on. Every one of them is getting their temperatures checked. How many temperature checks have we had, Dan? Over 11,000 in the short time that they've been doing this? We got to have some kind of normalcy. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's sports. It doesn't matter if it's band, cheer, academics, nothing. We're all together. We got to stay together, and there ain't no sense in bickering over stupid stuff like this. We got bigger fish to fry. We don't even know what tomorrow holds. We have no clue. But if we don't stay together and we don't, figure this thing out together, we're dead in the water. We're not going to follow what Governor Wolf wants to do. We kind of have to at this point. But at the end of the day, common sense is common sense. And from where I'm sitting, I'd love to be back 5 days. That's exactly what we should do. But you know what? I had to go tonight. I had to go wear a mask. Was I comfortable with that? No, I was not. I'm the last person you're going to see with a mask on, but down there, I had to have one on. And in that heat, makes sense? No, it doesn't, but we have to do it. There is nothing that I wouldn't do. There isn't nothing that our superintendent wouldn't do, and there's nothing that this administration wouldn't do for these kids. Nothing. But when your hands are tied to a certain point, what are you supposed to do?
One comment you made, which, first of all, I appreciate everything the superintendent's doing. I appreciate everything our teachers are doing. And I appreciate everything our administration's doing. I didn't interrupt you, so let me finish.
This wasn't just directed at you. This wasn't just directed at you, okay? Just make sure you know that.
But let me finish. But you made a statement that said that we had to follow what Governor Wolf says. We have to follow his mandates and what he says. Yet when it comes to sports, we're not following it. That's what I'm saying. It needs to be even across the board for education and sports. Education first and sports. And when the governor says he recommends no fall sports and we decide to go and listen to the PIAA, where are we looking out for the best interests of the kids?
I told you that the PIAA is the one that made the call. If you want to complain about it, complain to PIAA. Don't complain to us.
I'm not
Don't complain
complaining.
to us as board members and as a district.
Statement. I'm making a statement. We're not following what the Governor Wolf says on sports, but we're following what he says on education. If we don't, I'm not saying stop sports, Danny, because I think sports are important. But what I am saying is have it straight across the board. If we can afford to have sports and not worry about it and protect our kids, then we can afford to have 5 days a week in school for the students when they're with them each other and not with other school districts.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. You're not going to get a dispute from me at all. I totally agree with that. There's no question about it. If we had the choice and I knew that my superintendent and my administration had nothing to lose, we'd be in that school 5 days a week. But you know what? We have no clue what Governor Wolf is going to mandate a month from now, a week from now, 2 weeks from now. That's why the remote was put in place. That's why we're doing the remote. Because what would have happened if we went 5 days a week and within a week, all these kids get sent home and now we're remote and now we're dead in the water because we don't know what we're doing.
Well,
it's hard enough as it is trying to adjust to it.
And what happens when it happens that way with sports?
It's going to happen to all of it. If it happens, it's going to happen to all of it. There's going to be there ain't going to be anything. It's going to be all remote, but I'm not going to cross that bridge until we get to it. At least we have the opportunity right now to have our students in school. And at least we have the opportunity to get them to learn how to adjust to in case we end up going completely remote. Otherwise, we shouldn't set our kids up to fail. And that's not what we're doing here at all. I mean, I don't want to be remote any more than anybody else, but at least it's preparing us for the worst and let's hope for the best. I said that in the last meeting.
Well, the governor has the authority to cancel all sports. He just didn't want to do it, and who knows the reasoning why. He's allowing sports to happen. He's mandating what we've got to do in the classroom. There's a big distinction between the two. So we're allowing sports to happen. We're allowing the close contact.
His recommendation is no ball sports.
We aren't going to allow the close contact in the classroom. We started 3.5, 4 weeks ago with a hybrid plan because it was going to enable us to have the kids spaced 6 feet or more apart. And at that point, we weren't going to have masks. We were going to be maskless because that's where the governor's mandates were. We could do that. And then they pulled the rug out from under us and said, too bad, too sad, 6 feet or not, you're going to have masks on. So the game changed for us, and we're where we are because of that. As far as the sports, well, I'm missing something here. If we bring all of our kids into the school and they are less than 6 feet and they are masked, but they're less than 6 feet apart, aren't they at risk, supposedly, in theory? If they're that close together and they're breathing on each other? I'm just, for me, it's just.
So what you're saying is a football helmet's going to keep them from getting COVID from other school districts that come from a high impact area.
Well, is
that what you're saying?
Don't go there. That's silly to say that. You know better than even saying that. Come on.
Well, then,
besides,
your argument don't make sense.
What I'm trying to say is if you're going to bring the kids in close together, and you know what? The kids have been together all summer long. We've had.
Absolutely.
So something tells me that this football player's coming together. It may not be as bad as we think it is, except for linemen, these poor guys, but it may not be as bad as we think it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I will say that sector of the population is the most healthy, the most virile, and if there's a group of people that can fight this off, it's going to be them from that standpoint. But look, we're allowed to let them play football, and we're going to let them play football. We're allowed to. The governor didn't want to say, no, you won't. He could have. he could have slammed the gavel down and said, done, no sports. He didn't. Why? I don't know. But educationally, we're going to do what we think is best at this point in time for the kids. And when the numbers drive us in the right direction, which I hope will be 5 days, that's where we're going to go. But we're not going to do it too soon, and we're not going to do it too late. So we could beat this horse to death all night long. Let's end it here tonight.
Well, I just want to say it's our obligation as school board members
to have an emotion
to
for
keep our children safe. That's our obligation.
Have a motion for adjournment so we can adjourn this meeting. We've killed this horse 7,000 times. Let's adjourn. Let's go to the executive session.
This is Scott. I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion.
From Scott, do we have a second to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Let's go to executive session. Sebastian, will you send us an email?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Good night, folks.